Hey there, I'm Joey, welcome to the channel, and in this video we're ranking the most popular commanders in the EDH format, not by how powerful they are, but by their flavor text. I'll be using the EDH Rec Top 100 Commanders page to find the most popular commanders in the game and to see if their flavor text is as cool as they are. If a card doesn't have flavor text, well, I can't rank it, so things like Ur-Dragon or Yuriko, sorry, there's nowhere for you to go. And just how exactly will these cards get ranked? Well, I've named our tier list after some iconic flavor text moments across Magic history. S tier is named after Rancor, with its iconic line, "Hatred outlives the hateful." There's a whole Ristic studies about this card and this line. To be honest, there are so many amazing pieces that you could put as top tier. I almost want to call this the Rancor Felden Archon Oblation tier, but I'm just gonna go with this one. This tier is for pieces of writing that shake you to your core, something that eclipses past the point of just a game piece and truly becomes an artistic masterpiece. Our tier right below that is Fibblethip. Totally Lost gave us a surprise smash with this bit of text, telling a fun story in a very clever way. It's a sleeper hit text that spun off into so much more. I think you could also call this the Greatness at Any Cost tier. Just cards that have simple, clean concepts executed very admirably. They contribute to a truly fleshed out experience of the world of the game. Screw it, I'm gonna name it both, Fibblethip and Greatness. Fibblethip Greatness. At the middle tier, I'm just gonna call this one World Building. The type of text that you see on even common cards like Angelic Intervention and things like that. It's good exposition, but it doesn't have all of the extra flair. The person who wrote it would probably even be like, yeah, we just needed a spot to explain the plot a little bit. This is still a good tier because flavor text writing can be really hard. You only have so many words to convey a really sprawling story. So these cards do something important, they just don't go above and beyond the way the top tiers do. Alright, our second to last tier is named after Gorilla Titan. I want a banana this big. Funny haha, I guess, but I really dislike this type of text because it undermines the entire card. Text like that is just sort of doing its own thing rather than tying the entire piece together elegantly. To me, it feels like text that's trying too hard. If a card winds up in this tier, it's because the text, the art, the flavor all feel disconnected from each other. Really, if cards end up in this tier, they're the type of cards that you could be forgiven for having forgotten that these cards even have flavor text in the first place. And of course, our bottom tier is none other than Ancient Grudge, which tells us in thorough, excruciating detail about the collar for Avacyn, the collar chosen specifically to symbolize Avacyn, Avacyn's collar. That collar? Ham-fisted, over-explaining, even perhaps a bit of a meme. If the other tier was text that you might have forgotten, this is the tier of text that you wish you could forget. Alright, let's get into the list. Okay, here we are. I went through the top 100 most popular commanders in order of that popularity, and here are the ones that have flavor text. You may notice that there are much fewer than 100 cards here. Only 22 of the top 100 most popular commanders have flavor text on their readily available printings. Yes, Wizards does make a whole lot of commanders who have so much rules and reminder text that there's just not enough room for things like flavor text. Interesting. Also, no, I'm not doing any of the super special rare or secret layer versions of cards. I'm sorry, y'all. Just if we waded into that territory, I'd have to rank like that weird version of Oloro or Hatsune Miku stuff or the Princess Buttercup version of Captain Sisei, and that just gets really overcomplicated really fast, so we're gonna stay where we're better acquainted. That means our first to rank is Krenko Mob Boss. Threats, extortion. Good sir, you have me all wrong. I am a legitimate businessman. My colleagues and I are simply here to conduct legitimate business. And you know what? He's pretty fun. I like him. This explains the character in a fairly transparent way, but it does ooze with personality. I'm not gonna lie, it does kind of remind me a bit of the legitimate business person thing on the witness protection card, but like that's also still fun. This is also definitely a really big improvement on the old flavor text of Krenko, which I think is just really super meh. I'm putting this high in the world building tier. It's not astonishing literary heights, but it's also not trying to be, so don't be mad at me, Krenko. I think this is still a really solid placement. When I read this flavor text, I got a good nose exhale out of it. It made me smile. Next is Kalia of the Vast. In the vast emptiness, Kalia found she was not alone. That is good. A little haunting, both because of her potential loneliness, but then also what it communicates is like coming down the pike when you're Kalia's opponent. I think it makes me root for her a lot. This is really interesting text. Notably, Kalia does also have another bit of flavor text on her original version. Like we saw with Krenko, there are a few commanders that have had multiple printings and therefore have multiple different versions of flavor text. I'm judging current versions, but you know, I want to acknowledge others as they arrive. In this case, I am really glad that Kalia got new flavor text because I like this new one much better than the old one, which is just a little bit of like, I need revenge, and it feels almost angsty. This one feels a lot more interesting to me. I think the old one would place kind of somewhere in the middle tier, but as she is now, I like the new text enough that I think she is trying to achieve some of that Fibblethip greatness. And you know what? I think she gets there. Next we have Giada, Font of Hope, and her flavor text is, now she is New Capenna's greatest hope. Sorry, I hate this. There aren't going to be a ton of low placements, spoiler alert, but this does nothing for me. It's kind of just repeating the title of the card. It doesn't intrigue, it just kind of explains, and I think it does so in a way that doesn't make me excited to know more about her or about the world. It feels so final. Like, I don't know, in writing you're supposed to show, not tell, but this is all tell. I know it wasn't trying to be super grandiose, and they really only had like one line to work with here in that flavor text space, but it just does really fall short for me. Giada does have another printing, her original version, which does have a different set of text, which I do think is better, but both of them still feel a little bit like, look at me. I don't know, they both kind of hint at aspects of the world that more than anything, just kind of like maybe give side eye rather than making me want to know more. I'm left confused about the details of the world and how this all plays out rather than being able to soak in the atmosphere. And frankly, the text is even distracting me from like this really cool piece of artwork and from Giada's fantastic mechanics. She's a really cool card. But yeah, this version of Giada especially, this is the equivalent of that digital Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One saying hope. Like, I am just ripped out of the scene by that. I think that this one has to go into the banana this big category. I think this feels disconnected and confusing. Next is Nekusar. His enemies wondered if the Lich King's brutal death and unnatural rebirth had been his plan all along. This is also low, I'm sorry. I think this quote kind of has to like explain the plot to you in a way that makes me less invested in the story. This almost feels like a SparkNotes entry. Like, his enemies wondered that? Okay, well I didn't. A power-hungry guy had plans to become a Lich? Yep, that sure sounds like the backstory of a Lich, alright. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too mean here. Maybe I spend too much time with other undead zombie cards, but this doesn't speak to my necromantic heart at all compared to the other amazing black magic text that we have seen out there in the game. Sheen, Two Heavens is One, is next. Trained by the Imperials, but disillusioned by their rigidity, he gave his heart and his swords to the Asari Uprising. I think this is a pretty easy placement in the middle tier, really decent world building. It's kind of classic in that way, but it isn't being clumsy about it. It's giving us a little bit of insight to the character while also providing some necessary exposition about the setting that the character is in. It's not grand, but it's not bad. It does the job. Next is a twofer. We have Essica, who says, I know this world from canopy to roots. Where do you go, girl? I think this one on the front is pretty simple, but I do kind of like its simplicity. Like, I think this text actually kind of helps to contextualize why this character has these abilities. But we also have to rank the back half here, her prismatic bridge half, which just says 2 words, Starnheim awaits. Honestly, that's really good. It's a 2-word story, and a 2-word story is a power move. A bridge, where does it lead? Starnheim, what is that? It builds intrigue. What is it waiting for? I want to know more about this world, about her. Why is she suddenly a rainbow? Because me and the other gays are taking notes. I'm gonna rank them together, back and front, because it is all in one package of a card. I like this. I think it gets a high placement. It's not in the top tier. We've got some other excellent ones that are still coming up, but I think this is great. Muldrotha, you're up next, and we've got, honestly, another banger here. My child grew from rot and ruin, yet she bloomed. Quote Multani. What I love so much here is the delicious contrast between the word child and the art that depicts this enormous, terrifying being reaching down to just demolish you. If you don't know who Multani is, but then you see this text and you're like, this is just a kid? Then you're like, oh heck, how bad's the mom gonna be? Muldrotha, I am also giving you the Fibblethip greatness tier. I don't think that you've moved me to the point of tears necessarily, but you have absolutely captured our attention. Ariette is next. Hush now, I need your beauty sleep. Ah, diva! This is what we've been saving the high placements for. In 2 sentences, I know everything that I need to know about this queen. She's arrogant, she's calculated, she's clever, she's in control, she's thriving, and she's having so much fun doing it. This like takes me back to when Disney villains were fun. I love her, and like, you gotta be honest, a whole lot of you out there want her to step on you. But you know what? Maybe some of you out there think that my rankings are totally crazy, and to all of you out there who don't like my placements, you know what I gotta say to you? That's cool. We can still be friends about it. This is super subjective. Tell me what your rankings would be down in the comments. Maybe even do me a favor and hit those YouTube thingies while you're down there. Oh, and we're doing some Patreon exclusive content over at patreon.com/edhrecast too. So support the channel if you want, or tell me I'm crazy if you want. Do both at the same time, maybe. What was I originally talking about? I've really spun off into a different direction here, haven't I? Let's get back to the rankings. Okay, next is Teysa Karlov, from one magnificent Magali Villeneuve piece to another. Her text is, while Kaya is Guildmaster, Teysa waits patiently at the center of the Orzhov web of power. I wish I was as enthralled by Teysa's flavor text as I am by Ariette's flavor text. Like, honestly, I'm a little disappointed here. I don't think I can put this any lower than the expository tier, because that is technically the function that this text is fulfilling, but it's just that that's all that it's doing. And I wanted more for a character who is this iconic, and an art piece that is this fantastic, and a commander that is this powerful. And even if I did count some of her other special art versions and their flavor text, I'm not gonna lie, those ones are all kind of a wash for me. They don't really move the needle any higher, but also no lower. They're just all kind of in the same realm, basically. This is the kind of text that I would expect to see on like an expository common combat trick in a set. But it is still good. Like it is still perfectly fine. You know, reading this, I do know more about the state of the plane than I did before. And I think it's personally a little bit of a bummer that they took her card specifically to try and do that work, rather than using that slot to try and convey something greater, but that's okay. I'm not mad about this text. It just doesn't thrill me, is all. Corvold, Fakehurst King. Transformed at his own wedding, he promptly ate the banquet, the gifts, and the guests. I don't like this card. I think the reasons it was made are not good reasons, and that the design doesn't show much elegance or restraint. But hot damn, that is a good piece of flavor text. It's fun, it's funny, it explains the mechanics of the card and the history of the character. Like, I'm mad at how much I like this. I think I have to give this a hatred outlives the hateful. I think I have to give this the top tier too. Like, I know I said that this top tier is for those things that move you, for the things that really do feel like artistic pinnacle, right? But I do actually think this kind of achieves that, because this isn't just a joke on a piece of flavor text. Like, sure, the first time that you read it, yes, it's funny, but the second time you read it, you begin to see the tragedy of the moment. Like, seriously, this is the Robin's call your girlfriend of flavor text. The more you hear those same lines repeated over and over, the more the meaning behind them begins to change, and you go from that place of comfort to a place of pure tragedy. I think Corvold as a card is overreaching mechanically, but whoever wrote the flavor text, you popped off. Up next is Obeka, and fun fact, when I was going through the list of top commanders to find the ones that have flavor text, I had to bypass 25 other commanders to get from the last entrant, Corvold, to this entrant, Obeka. 25 legends in a row who had so much rules and reminder text that there was not room for flavor text, and I don't know, I tell you what, hey, wizards, here, come here just a little bit. Maybe we can rein it in sometimes a little bit, yeah? Maybe all commanders don't need a minimum of 3 abilities sometimes. Just a thought. Anyway, Obeka, you're living on borrowed time. Another absolute banger. With just 5 words, we've got an understanding of this character's temporal magic abilities. We've established her callousness, her grit. We understand how intimidating she is. Like, it kind of strikes fear into your heart to read these words a little bit. 5 words, and I suddenly understand who this person is, and I feel like I've established a connection with her even. Plus, it's also a clever inversion of a very common phrase, which gives like this fun linguistic twist to the whole thing. This is another A+. I live for this type of storytelling. In my excitement, I knocked cards off of my desk. That's how much I love this flavor text. Dang it. Okay, up next is Hashatan. I served the scarab in an age long past, in another form, under another name. No matter their visage, I serve. This is probably controversial, but I don't think this works. I think this text is kind of doing overtime, don't you? Like, it just feels like it's working really hard to try and explain what's happening, and who this is, and why they're here, and what's going on, and why we should even care. Yeah, this is a banana this big. I just don't think this is very good. It almost feels like I'm reading a retcon. Like, yeah, this comes off as sort of a retroactive justification for this zombie's presence and impact. You know what it is? This is a soap opera moment where it turns out that a character that we've known for like 15 seasons has a brother who's never once come up before, but then who is treated like they've always been there. like the card is awesome. Hashaton's really, really cool. I just don't think that this flavor text is helping things. And I'll probably forget that it exists after I'm done recording this. And then I'll remember that it exists while I'm editing it, and then after that I'll forget about it again. I think I'm probably being a little bit mean here, but don't worry, Hashatan players, your zombie boy can take it. It'll be okay. Okay, next is Alila, Artful Provocateur. Rankle's pranks are child's play. My games will topple kingdoms. You know what? That's also solid. It's decent. It's intriguing. It's establishing her abilities and also giving you a bit of information about another character. It's not going to stand out if someone asks me a favorite flavor text, but it is still a job well done. Oh, Flubs! He knows exactly where he's going and exactly how he isn't getting there. This is art. Clever without being obnoxious. Funny without overstaying the joke. Explains the abilities without bending over backwards to do it. End of the day, yes, it is just telling you something about the character, but it's doing so in a way that takes you on the exact same journey that he has gone through. I feel like I'm right in Flubs' shoes when I read this. I am now his travel companion, and I can picture what he's been through to get to where he is. And I'm also excited to travel even further with him now too. This is Hatred Outlives the Hateful, no question. This is excellent flavor text. Flubs may be a fool, but whoever wrote this is not. Alright, next is Ezio, and technically this is a version of the card that is in a special frame. The normal frame doesn't have the flavor text, but this version of the card does, and I did say earlier that I'm not doing the special editions, but this isn't a super special premium secret layer kind of thing that is impossible to find, so whatever, I'm still gonna count this version. And it turns out that I'm only gonna include it here so that I can shit on it. We work in the dark to serve the light. We are assassins.
No, buddy, no, that's not good.
I'm sure that's just a direct quote from the games or something, but here in the context of a Magic card's flavor text, it's real bad. Just, we are assassins, bum ba dum bum. This isn't good. This is clumsy. It feels like the text is asking me, babe, are you mad at me? And yes, because you asked me that, now I am mad at you. This is an Avacyn's Collar, no doubt. I have no pity or patience for your flavor text, Ezio. You're a good card, but your flavor text is a 1-star review. Would not recommend on Yelp. Zur is next, and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty good. Zur remained aloof from Terizier's suffering, intent only on his own perfection. Easy, clean exposition here, and it explains the abilities pretty well, too. Here's why he is getting more powerful. It contextualizes those abilities in a nice way. It's not a knockout, but it is very good. I think I'm gonna put it in the middle, but it's a high middle, you know? The middle tier isn't mediocre, the middle tier is just stuff that's doing the job well, and this does the job really nicely. Oh man, and then we have Sithis. Spoiler alert, I don't like this one. Through every verdant field, every bough that hangs heavy with fruit, Karametra shows her love. Can I be honest? When I was putting notes together for this video, the only thing that I wrote down about Sithis was just one word, langweilig, which is the German word for boring. And I guess I wrote it down in another language because that's just how bored I was that I needed to find entertainment somehow. Whatever, it's getting a low tier. This is a banana this big. I feel like this is trying way too hard to try and make me understand why this card does what it does. Sithis herself is extremely powerful, but her flavor text is extremely tepid. I just don't think that the pieces match up together very well. AC, Tyrant of Gyre Strait. To sail through those waters is to offer oneself as tribute. Quote, Captain Hoyrick. Okay, I'm bitter about this one, because this is almost another Korvold situation for me, because once again, I don't like the design of this card, we already had Tatiova, you should get your own shtick, AC, but this text, this flavor text, it's pretty good. That's not just world building to me, it is communicating a lot more than just some basic facts. It is conveying this sense of scale, the attitudes of a common people. It speaks to the rules and superstitions of a culture in this area, which establishes a long history that you want to know more about. And it's also aloof enough for me to start fearing this great beast by heeding the warnings of these sailors, because it's not even directly describing the creature, because doing that so directly could be a little bit too literal or a little diminutizing. Rather, it is indirectly describing these things. It is indirectly establishing stakes, which then leaves room for my brain to make things more terrifying by filling in the gaps with the stuff that isn't there yet. I just think that text works in tandem with the art really, really dang well. It doesn't move me, so I'm not giving it the highest tier, but I am still very impressed by it, so it's gonna get the next highest placement. Mechanically, I am bored by this card. But dang it, I like the flavor text. Next is Narset, Enlightened Exile. They called her unique insight a gift. Then she saw the truth, and suddenly it was a threat. This is the best flavor text we've seen all day. This is f***ing perfect. Your gift is seen as a nice thing until you provide an ugly truth, and then everyone turns on you. Reporting a problem suddenly means that people treat you like you are the problem. Wow, this isn't just good text for a magic card, this is good text for the current state of the world. And it speaks volumes more when you do find out more about the character Narset and how she operates through the world and what she represents. So many people who are othered can connect with that feeling of being perceived as a problem simply by existing, simply by using their talents and their gifts, simply by not going along with the expected status quo. Whoever wrote this, give them a raise. This is the perfect sentiment, perfectly executed, and your audience thanks you for it. Irony of ironies, though, because we're going to go from the best flavor text of the day to the worst of the day. And funny enough, they're both in Jeskai. So, okay, let's get into it. Kaikar wins fury. The raging gale fans the flames of righteous wrath. What does that mean, Kaikar? What are you talking about? This is just a quote from a bad philosophy major, which is probably just to say this is a quote from a philosophy major. Like, sorry, not sorry, but this is the height of pretentious. And you know what? The other editions of Kaikar with their different flavor text do not help things here. Like, here's one. He calls forth his flock from dancing zephyrs and swirling clouds. I appreciate that they're trying really hard to make this card's mechanics line up flavorfully there, but the flourishes here are only making me more aware of how good stuffy the card's abilities feel. And don't even get me started on the other one. A life is meaningless until it is put to use. Well, f*** you too, Kaikar. What the hell? Like, your life only has value if it serves my needs. Go replace a turkey at Thanksgiving. Like, at least when I'm playing my aristocrat graveyard nonsense and sacrificing all of my creatures for value, I know I'm the bad guy in that story. But Kaikar over here is apparently sacrificing things for what he thinks is some noble purpose, and it has the audacity to be all holier than thou about it. Infuriating! And I could almost give it a pass, because it is possible that this is kind of the point of the flavor text. Like, it is there to establish that Kaikar is high on his own supply and is a complete hypocrite, but I either don't think so or don't care, or both. Kaikar, I'm giving you an absence collar. You are an evil bird. Man, I'm about to get really popular with all the Kaikar players out there. Just watch. A whole flock of them are gonna come peck at me at the next Magicon. I'll grant you this, Kaikar. You did at least stir up a reaction in me, you know? Text like this is better than being boring. Being forgettable is a much worse problem in art. But yeah, bad bird. Okay, second to last one is Arabella. Every night, Corey threw the unsettling doll away. Every morning, it was back on the shelf, its eyes following her every move. This is almost good. It's establishing the world, that spooky doll Duskborn vibe, but I wish it had gotten like one more pass before it got published, just one more edit. Like, I wish instead that it just said, every night Corey threw the doll away, every morning it was back on the shelf. It just doesn't need the word unsettling in the text there. You know, don't tell me how to feel. I'll decide how I feel on my own. And that bit about the eyes following your every move is just dipping into that cliche tropey kind of nonsense. If it was just every night it was thrown away and every morning it came back, that would be enough for me to wonder and to worry. Enough for me to feel like I'm getting drawn in. But then again, let's be real, even if that was changed, it would probably still only get up to that decent world building tier. Listen, horror writing is really hard, and I'm probably being a bit of a snob here, because I want every card to achieve that old stick fingers status. You know, a fun fact about old stick fingers is that he's right behind you. Like, that is how you do good, spooky writing. Arabella almost got to the point of being decent, of being kind of solid, but at the end of the day, it's a banana this big. Like, her flavor text is clumsy enough that I have to give her a low tier. And finally, last one, Yarok the Desecrated. Yarok grieves within the waste of Balaged's corrupted land. Lament for Balaged, stanza 1. So this is a small part of a poem that exists in the greater world of Zendikar. Just one stanza amongst several more. And here, it's weird because I do have to grade this card based off of its own standalone flavor text. Like, it wouldn't be fair for me to put that entire poem together and then credit just Yarok for all of that work. I'm hemming and hawing about where to put this because on the one hand, it is literally incomplete. But on the other hand, it is purposefully leaving those things out to encourage you to seek out more information. It is establishing a wider world that cannot simply be captured on just one piece of cardboard. And I do think that is effective here. Also, not gonna lie, whoever wrote this poem, you know your rhythm really well. I'm gonna call it an even split and put this into the expository world building tier. Like, it's not as elegant as some of the other entries in that tier, but it's hinting at more in a way that invites players in. I'm not gonna dock it points for being incomplete because it was aware of that choice and it made that choice thoughtfully. Text that puts you into the mindset where you want to find out more and you're rewarded for seeking out the rest is such a good time. Drawing folks into the wonderful world of Magic so that they stick around long enough to discover what a cool game they're in, that's almost exactly what I want flavor text to do. That'll leave us with this final tier list. I've memed on a few of the lower entries, like, can we give one last middle feather to Kaikar? But let's be honest, there aren't a ton of low placements. And again, even the middle tier is still really decent stuff, because not every piece of text can be grandiose. Some of them do just have to focus on storytelling in the limited space that they have to try and execute that task. So let's give it up to Magic's flavor text writers, because they put a whole lot of work into that. Do you agree with these placements? Did I put any of your favorite commanders in a different place than you would have done? Let me know in the comments, hit those big juicy red buttons, and thank you so much for watching. And until next time, remember, EDH wreck your deck before you wreck your deck.